enough room. It is 6 o'clock, and I will call the Public Works meeting to order. We'll start out with the roll call. Alder Menzer. Here. Alder Borse. Here. Alder Rust. Present. And Alder Bellinger is, I believe, on his way, so he will be here shortly. We will go. We will start out with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Alrighty, we'll start out with real quick. We have a lot of people here. I suppose we should probably do a quick introduction of staff. I am Dean Decker, chair of the committee. I'm an alderperson from District 6. I'll start out that way.
Alder Zach Russ, vice chair, and District 8.
Go ahead.
Alder Susie Borse, District 5.
Alderman John Bellinger, I apologize for being a couple minutes late. District 2.
Alderman Ryan Menzer, District 1.
Okay. I think we can dispense with the staff members. I think we just you committee. Okay. I am going to do a couple quick things. First of all, I'm going to just announce a parliamentary procedure for this and for future meetings. I'm going to ask that the members of the committee that do not make motions until staff presents to committee members, and the committee members have a chance to speak from now on. Thank you very much. Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry about that. And then I'm also going to make a quick change in the agenda. I am going to move agenda item number 6, which is the one you're all here for. I'm going to move that to the last here because we have a lot of staff member here that don't necessarily have to be here for this, and I know it's probably going to be a longer discussion. So I hope you, I apologize, but I think that's probably best for our staff members, so I'm going to give them a little bit more. So we're going to go on to, let's see, let's go to approval of minutes.
So moved.
Motion is made and seconded. Any comments on those minutes? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Chair votes aye. Those are approved. Okay, we will move on to number 7, direct referral resolution number 422526, a resolution authorizing the appropriate city officials to enter into contract with C3 Storage LLC for the leasing of city property for marine vessel storage operation. Mike, which one are you at? Get your, there we go. Is that you, Mike? There we go.
Yep.
Okay.
Good evening, committee members. Tonight we are seeking approval to enter into contract with C3 Storage LLC for leasing city property for marine vessel winter storage. The storage location remains the same as it has been for over 20 years. C3 Storage assumes all responsibility with no impact to city or its employees. The rent has increased from $3,000 in 2024 to $4,000 in 2025. This contract is very similar to the one approved in 2024 with the exception of increasing the rent payment. Staff does recommend moving forward with this resolution to extend additional amenities to the Harbor Center Marina. And I like to ask if there's any questions regarding this resolution.
Any questions from committee members at all?
Motion to approve.
Motion is made and seconded. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Chair votes aye. That's approved. Thank you very much, Mike. Okay. Move on to number 8, direct referral resolution number 422526, a resolution releasing from parcel number 592810077015 driveway restoration agreements. Kevin, I guess this would be you, huh? Okay. There we go. Thank you.
Back in 1966, the city originally entered into this agreement with the Memorial Hospital, and over the course of the next 25 years entered into 5 more. I don't know the exact reasoning why these agreements were entered into. These are agreements that are in place to verify that the property owner replaces the curb after having a driveway opening installed. We typically don't use these anymore, and as we are redeveloping that property, we need to vacate these agreements so that we have a clean title moving forward.
Okay, thank you. Questions? Motion?
So moved.
Motion's made and seconded. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Chair votes aye. That is approved. All right, number 9, direct referral resolution number 462526, a resolution authorizing the Director of Public Works and Engineering to enter into a memorandum of understanding with the Sheboygan Area School District for recreation department activities and events held at city parks. Is this one for Travis or for, oh, Jairus. Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. Staff is asking council to approve this memorandum of understanding with the Sheboygan Area School District. It covers portions of park property that is not currently contemplated in our park facilities rental program or within the special event program. So the expectations outlined in this MOU relate to the nature of Sheboygan Area School District's rec programs, intended uses for the properties, dates, times, needs, cleanup obligations, things along those lines. Also ensuring that we have adequate communication between the parties going into each summer rec season to make sure that both parties' needs are being represented without undue costs to staff for having to deal with unanticipated overtime to address what's considered to be a last-minute need. It would be one that's not communicated in time for DPW scheduling and things like that.
Okay. Questions? Okay. Motion? Motion made and seconded. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Chair votes aye. That is approved. Okay, now we'll go back to number 6. I guess the one everyone's here for. Direct referral resolution number 442526, a resolution approving the June 2025 Evergreen Park Trail Improvement Proposal. Joe, it starts out with you. You gotta hit your light so I know which one you're at.
Thank you.
Okay.
I just want to start off by giving a lot of thank yous here. The original request was at the city council meeting on March 3rd, and it was held because of, it was very apparent. There was questions, concerns from the community, and that chance was given to just hold back and get a lot of those answered. So first of all, I want to thank you, the public, the community that had concerns. You care about our parks and then you're using them and you want to see that things are done right. So first of all, if you were one of those people that had concerns, questions, and actually were willing to listen and give your side of things, thank you. Much appreciated, and I think everybody can attest to that. I want to thank the other people, the committee members here. I know every one of you put a lot more than just a few hours into this subject. You met individually with people, you met as groups. You know what's going on tonight without me having to rehash everything. So it is one of the biggest subjects, biggest projects that I have ever been a part of, and I want to thank you for being a part of this too and listening to people. Last of all, I want to thank Sheboygan County Cycling, especially Nathaniel, who I'm going to ask to speak tonight, and Judd Bowman. Just hours among hours, them and their group. These are family people. They have 9-to-5 jobs, and they've put just a ton of time into this because of the belief of what Evergreen Park can be, what the trails, what we can get out of it, what their kids in the future can receive from it, what the people that are not bikers or bikers can receive from what they can do. They have a proven track record. They've been raising money. They paid for IMBA professionals to come in and do an inventory and do a plan design, not a design, but a concept design. They have raised more money since then, and they are very eager to move forward with design. And designing these trails in the future, once they receive approval, is the next step, and it will answer a lot of questions. So I'm simply here tonight asking that this committee will make the recommendation to the council to approve this concept so we can move forward and make Evergreen better. I'd like to turn it over to Nathaniel, if that's okay.
Okay, go ahead, Daniel. You get you on you got the right mic there? Yep, there you go.
All right, thank you all so much. I don't have any graphics or anything, so I'm just gonna share a few words and give some highlights on changes to the proposal. Start with thank you, Alderman of Sheboygan, for having us here today. I believe everyone is aware of the proposal set forth and has gone through it in great detail. But first, I'd like to give a little bit of background info. In the summer of 2022, SEC representatives attended a public meeting with the Parks Department. It was just a meeting that Parks Department posts on the website, inviting people to come and, well, a general public meeting. Myself and several others from SEC attended. At that meeting, we agreed to work with the city to rebuild the trails to ensure sustainability, a great user experience, and address some very real environmental concerns we see in the park today. Shortly after, we became the adopted park of Evergreen Park and have been maintaining the trails over the last 3 years, including reopening the trails after the major windstorm of 2022. Prior to this, Joe Curlin of the Parks Department and Carl Martins worked together to bring IMBA on site for an initial investigation performed in 2019 that was used as a framework for DPW and SEC. I'd also like to highlight the history goes beyond that. These trails have been shared use for decades. Previously, there were volunteer organizations known as Fat Cats, the JCs, small social groups, and even local businesses hosting cleanup days. I bring all this up to highlight the vibrant history of shared use trails in the park and how long this project has been going on. This proposal is based on the IMBA assessment and concept plan from spring 2024 and a few differences. I'd like to share a few key differences. Most notably, we have removed the paved pump track and the jump lines from the proposal. We have received many comments of disappointment of the removal, and to these individuals, please know we will be exploring other locations within Sheboygan County in the future. And in the meantime, please go visit Firefly Park in Wauwatosa. They just finished a paved track there last month. In addition, you will find that this proposal removes the NICA, or National Interscholastic Cycling Association, label from the proposal. The trails in this area are currently and will always remain shared use. Community feedback was that this designation sent the message it was exclusive and would be used by the NICA students only. You will also find that new to the proposal, we're including the existing ski/hike trails on the map. We are not proposing any changes be made to these trails, but we would like to work with Public Works to ensure that they are added to trailhead maps for improved navigation. Some folks in the community were worried we wanted to remove these trails since they were not on our first map. And to those people, I want to apologize, and we're happy we were able to clear up that confusion. SEC has hosted 4 public meetings sharing information and taking community questions and concerns into account. During the 2024 meeting, we worked with the city to host an online survey where we received 197 responses, spreading invites to it via social media, city resources, newspapers, flyers, other nonprofits, and much more. In addition, this topic has been included in numerous city-hosted meetings, many where we were present and heard from community members, and continue to include that feedback into our proposal as you see it today. We believe what you see today accurately represents what the community desires: a quality shared use trail experience that ensures the forest is protected. Over the last few months, we and the alders here today have heard many additional concerns from the community. We would like to thank the community for that feedback. We learned through this process that some of our literature was lacking detail to clearly convey the goals of the proposal, And we believe that our new proposal and supporting materials accurately convey that Evergreen Park is and will remain a shared use park. A few common concerns we heard along the way I'd like to address for just a moment. We are not proposing removing any trees in the forest or in the park. Volunteers of SEC are at the core outdoor enthusiasts and would love to spend time in the great outdoors. On a personal note, I have 2 young kids, 1 and 3, and my wife and I, we love to take them out in the woods, whether it be Evergreen or elsewhere. We have shared that we'll be working with the city to evaluate trees that possess safety concerns along the trail and address them as necessary. Some concerns raised early on focus on user safety when you place a biker and a hiker on the same trail. We have shared numerous examples and studies backed by facts showing that shared use trails are the norm in Wisconsin, the Midwest, and the country. During the design phase, we will prioritize user safety on the trails. Some common methods to ensure user safety, to give some examples, include education of the trail users at trailheads, directional trails with bikers going one direction and hikers going another, and modern trail design to ensure good sight lines when using the trails. Refinement of this will come from trail experts during the design phase. Lastly, one of the large questions was who is paying for this? And we would just like to clarify that SEC is leading the fundraising efforts and will be asking for donations from local businesses, foundations, individuals applying for grants and hosting fundraising events. The city of Sheboygan has it on their outdoor rec plan for $150,000, split into $50,000, 3 of the next 5 years, to be allocated to trails within within Evergreen Park. It is critical to know these are grants the city will apply for that only they have access to. There are many grant opportunities specific for shared use trail and outdoor recreation that only municipalities can apply for. No funding is expected from the city if these grant opportunities do not work out. Over the last 3 years, we have heard hundreds of comments of support for this project. To date, the most excited group has been those with young families, and I believe you'll hear from some of them tonight. Families with young kids desire outdoor recreation that is approachable to young kids and close to home. We have shared in the past that Sheboygan County lacks beginner-friendly single-track trails for new riders, hikers, and kids to enjoy. Creating shared-use trail system that can encourage more community members to go outside is a key goal of this project. Additionally, we have heard from many community members that they have changed their mind and support our proposal in front of you today. These comments of support from those who had previously not supported us mean the world to us. It tells us that our hundreds upon hundreds of volunteer hours spent updating this proposal, hosting public meetings, and hearing community concerns were all worth the effort. SEC is committed to bringing improved outdoor recreation to Evergreen Park and the city of Sheboygan. To ensure more of the community can enjoy it than today, as it stands, much of the trails within the park are confusing and uninviting to new hikers, bikers, and families exploring the park. On top of unsustainable and eroding. Thank you for the opportunity to work with you, the alders, the city, and the community to upgrade the trails within Evergreen Park into something we can all be proud of and enjoy together.
Thank you, Nathaniel. Why don't you just hang up there 1 second? I just want to, because I do this way, if any of the committee members have any questions for Nathaniel right away, if anybody does, if you want to push in, otherwise I'll let him sit. But questions, comments? Okay. I just want to start to say thank you for all your work. I know this has been an arduous journey for you guys. You guys have really worked hard. I applaud both sides. I mean, the ones that were against some of these proposals and that, I think that they've helped improve the plan very much. And I think that you guys have really worked hard, and I appreciate them. I was at a couple of your meetings at the library. The last one last week was very, very informative, and it was really nice for you guys to bring it in. I think you guys have really done a good job working through things, and you learned a little about politics too, I guess. Alrighty.
It's an easy question.
Sure, go ahead.
It's a very easy question. when you talk, you say trails all the time, but there are those two features that aren't trails. So that was my concern. There's something by the Shaw Playground.
Yes.
For the kids. And then there's something further in by the 4 trails too.
We have it fully detailed in the proposal, but there's a kids' bike playground near Shaw Playground. There's 2 zones marked C1, C2 that we're marking as skill zones, and those we're proposing to still be shared use. There will be some rock features, wooden features to give people an opportunity to explore the woods in another way. And, again, we'll have walk-arounds or ride-arounds where applicable to ensure that it's, enjoyable and accessible to as many people as we can.
Okay. I also just want to, again, thank you guys for coming. I'm going to open up to discussions. I'm going to limit it to 3 minutes per person. Travis, you got the phone there? When Travis gives me the thumbs, you're going to be cut off. I hope that if we could try not to be too repetitive, if we have the same thing over and over again, I mean, to be respectful of the members of the committee here and of the rest of them, I guess we'll start out, go right ahead, ma'am. Just could state your name and address, that'd be fine.
Okay. My name is Suzanne Grace, and I live at 3411 North 6th Street in Sheboygan. My husband Don Grace and I love Sheboygan very much, and it's a great place with lots of stuff to do for retirees, which we're very happy to be here. Been here for 8 years, bought our house 8 years ago. We love bike riding. We'd like to have you guys vote yes tonight on the agenda item 6 for Evergreen Park Trail. We are supportive of the Sheboygan County Cycling Group, which has spearheaded this endeavor. They are welcoming, inclusive, and organized. Our most favorite and challenging activity so far with the Sheboygan Cycling Group has been riding our bikes through Evergreen Park when it was decorated for Christmas, before everybody else went through in their cars. Last year when we did it, it was absolutely freezing outside. Thank you, everybody, for being there. And about 150 people showed up, and it was from little kids, even infants, to people of all ages and abilities and all kinds of bikes. It was incredible. Even though it was, anybody was there or even knows how cold it was freezing. When we got there, there were so many welcoming volunteers and so many more participants than we expected, given the weather conditions. There were lots of families and people of all ages and abilities. There was a lit path with Christmas lights from the parking lot at the quarry over to across the bridge, over to where you meet the park in Evergreen. And it was just amazing and beautiful to see that the participants expected everyone, and everything was in place to facilitate the adventure and make it safe for everyone, which is typical of the SCC events. Because of the cold, it was absolutely challenging for everyone. Because of the cold, we figured no one would come, but so many people did, and SCC was ready for them, as they always are, thinking ahead. It was great. It was just absolutely great, freezing cold, well-run community event. And we felt it was like a great accomplishment to do 2 laps. I mean, other people were doing more. We've been to several other meetings and events with SCC, and because we are members of the group, we get emails which are well-constructed, welcoming, inclusive, and informative. This group is the real deal. They do all their work and background. We are especially intrigued and proud to be involved with them because they do so much work in the forest in Evergreen, but also out at Greenbush, and they have gotten rid of so much of the bramble and trees and so forth from the windstorm. But of course, there's a lot more to do, which we can all see when we drive around in our cars. Just think if we could all work together and use the Sheboygan County Cycling Group as an example of how to work as a community, each pitching in the skills we have, which are all different and all important. We could accomplish so much more in Sheboygan and make it an even safer place to live and a better place to bike, and keep our taxes low, which I'm sure we all want to do. Anyway, we are totally on board with SCC. They are hardworking, dedicated to the Sheboygan County people and to safe cycling, and we ask that the Sheboygan County's proposal be passed. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. You just hit the 3-minute mark. All right. Anyone else wishing to speak at all? Go ahead. And you could state your name and address.
Certainly. My name is Austin Crisp. I live at 2724 Clover Memorial Drive, apartment 207. I'm up here in support of the plan. This improvement proposal will never be perfect in the eyes of people opposing this or in favor of it. It's in its current form, it might be as close to perfect as it might get. I know that SCC has put in countless hours working on this revision. Going through this revising loop for any additional amount of time, I feel like would be inefficient and disservice to those that have worked tirelessly on it. I can tell you from attending their meeting 5 days ago that the people that oppose it today would find different problems with it tomorrow. But I'm glad that SCC revised the proposal to remove the pump track. It wasn't right for Evergreen. But I'm also disappointed that they removed the advanced skills zone, but I understand why they did that. That is compromised in its most basic form. SCC has done a commendable job to explain to the citizens of Sheboygan what the trails will look like in the park, but frankly, no one can know exactly what the changes will look like until we have design documents in hand. This has led to some individuals worrying and frankly going off the deep end to say this is a land grab and only for a park for where bikes belong. But that's contrary to the fact of their entire verbiage of their proposal. One thing is for sure, the trails will be undoubtedly improved. I hear a lot of complaints about the flow trail section right now. And really, I think all these trails is that they take advantage of gravity. And I will tell you that they are essentially there today. The only difference between today and tomorrow is that they will be mapped, defined, and professionally built. I also hear that some citizens are worried that the city doesn't let people know when they need volunteer help. You know, SEC is the official Adopt Park partner. If you really want to help, SEC is there. I volunteered there. I volunteered at their bike festival. They're great events. We do a lot of good work. And sometimes you're out there and you're removing sticks and debris from the park on your own. It might be having the wrong effect because sometimes we're trying to close trail or guard certain trails. Lastly, I'd just like to ask the committee members, if it hasn't already been apparent, there's a lot of people that are passionate about this project, and I just ask that they vote and act accordingly in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to go ahead?
My name is Nick Sabel, and I live at 624 Mayflower Avenue. I've lived in Sheboygan for the past 7 years, but my connection to Evergreen Park goes back more than 2 decades. I started mountain biking there over 20 years ago and would regularly drive to Sheboygan just to ride those trails long before I lived here. Now, as a member of this community and a father of 2 young kids, I see Evergreen Park as more than just a place to ride. It's a place where we teach our children the importance of fitness, nature, conservation. My son started riding mountain bikes on trails at just 3 years old. To help him develop his skills to ride safely, my family would often drive hours to visit other cities with youth-friendly bike skills areas, just like the ones proposed in areas C1 and C2 of the SCC proposal. But not all families have this ability. I think providing these features right here in Sheboygan would be a huge benefit for local kids and families. I've tried taking my son riding in Evergreen Park, but the current trail conditions combined with the poor signage and confusing layout make it difficult and even unsafe for younger riders. The SCC proposal addresses all of these issues with thoughtful updates that balance access, safety, and conservation. These improvements aren't just about biking. They're about creating a safe, healthy space for our community to grow and connect with the outdoors. I strongly support this plan and believe it reflects what Evergreen Park needs to serve the next generation of Sheboygan residents. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead. And then you, sir. Oh, okay.
Jessica Wiegand, 3012 Cherokee Drive in Sheboygan. I'd like to share that there has been some compromise, but the plan still does not include anything to instill confidence that proper consideration will be given to the environment and all park users. We've learned at the information session last week that every good trail plan should have restoration goals, and this plan does not currently include that. We also heard that somebody would study the topography and soil type to determine the final trail layout. Looking at the proposed areas, as IMBA has already done, anyone can quickly determine that there should not be biking through the proposed areas. This plan does not say these studies will happen or show a budget for them currently. In addition to these items not being part of the plan, There is evidence currently lined up to prove that the environment and all park users have not and will not be considered. Phase 1 of this project marked trails through immensely eroded areas, wetlands, and directly through at least 2 designated picnic areas. Now, currently untouched woods will have skill area trails running through them. We've also seen professionally built trails at Rocky Knoll with dirt running 2 to 3 feet up healthy trees for flow, and that all users cannot easily use despite being marked as multi-use. Every time we see examples of people riding bikes on proposed trails, we see pictures of children and families riding bikes on flat trails through the woods. That differs from the proposed skill and flow areas that are currently shown on the map. It feels like a diversion not to hear these areas talked about when we hear trails or see them in photos of shared use trails. Survey data shows that only around 17% of park users are bikers today. If you looked at the usage rate by activity, I would bet biking, let alone mountain biking, moves even further down the list. The largest user groups can be evident if you walk through the park on any given night, and it's not biking, based on my experience. Survey data also shows that bikers ride primarily on paved surfaces, all of this to show that we're creating trails that will only make it more difficult for the primary users of the park to enjoy trails in all 4 Wisconsin seasons. We keep being promised this is only a concept plan, but this is the plan before you for approval this evening and the working document then therefore going forward. Please don't let this move forward without explicitly stating and funding the study and restoration goals as part of this project. And please don't let this project move forward without considering the impact of all these bike skills and flow areas on the city of Sheboygan users and throughout all 4 Wisconsin seasons. Thank you.
Okay. Sure, you're the next one up.
Steve Hofschild, 2736 North 29th Street. That's in the 1st District, about 160 feet outside of Evergreen Park. I encourage you to vote no on the Evergreen Park Bike Plan. Implementing the plan would be a mistake that would be difficult to correct. There is public support for restoring and improving the park's existing trails. There isn't widespread support for building mountain bike skill zones that drastically change the park. That idea came from only one small special interest group, Sheboygan County Cycling, SCC. As noted, there are lots of misconceptions about SCC's plan. One of them is that Evergreen Park is underused and something needs to be done to increase its usage. I've been the park's neighbor for 42 years. Whenever I look at the park from my home, I see people using the park all seasons of the year and all types of weather, all times of the day. People on the road walking, jogging, skiing, riding bikes, and driving through the park in motorized vehicles. When I go into the park, there are even more people, picnickers, parents playing with their children, people hiking the trails, elderly people relaxing in parked cars. Everyone is enjoying and making use of a quiet, natural, forested park. Evergreen Park is already serving its intended purpose. Another misconception is that opponents of the plan are against having bikes in the park. Hikers and bikers already share trails in the park. What I am against is building a mountain bike destination with mountain bike skill zones that drastically change the park. At last week's public meeting, SCC characterized bike skill zones as multi-use trails. To prove their point, they showed a video of hikers and mountain bikers sharing a trail in Rochester, Minnesota. What the video actually showed was a natural hiking trail that had been improved to allow mountain bikers to sedately ride the trail. What it did not show was a mountain bike skill zone being used as a multi-use trail. This sleight of hand avoided showing the true nature of a mountain bike skills trail, which is mountain bikers racing over man-made features such as jumps, moguls, and steep embankments. These are not conducive to shared use. Finally, there is the misconception that the city is incapable of maintaining the park and it needs help from a partner. In the 42 years I've been the park's neighbor, I have noticed a decline in its maintenance, especially after the June 2022 windstorm. I don't know if the park is mismanaged or it's just underfunded, under-resourced, and park personnel are doing the best they can in a bad situation. What I do believe is that the city itself has the wherewithal to repair and maintain the park as it is currently configured. What is missing is the political will. Don't make the short-sighted mistake of voting for this plan. Vote no.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing? Well, you're first, you're second.
Good afternoon. My name is Robert Lyons. I live at 2746 North 29th Street. Afternoon Public Works Committee, I would like to thank you for allowing me to speak in regards to Resolution 442526, Evergreen Park Concept Plan presented by Sheboygan County Cycling. The original plan has been revised with the removal of the pump track as well as the jump and advance feature zone. While this was a step forward, I believe the removal of C2 as well, a bicycle skill area, would be a fair and just compromise. The current plan has a skill area C1 with identical features less than 100 feet away from the proposed location. Eliminating this feature would leave this area as a natural forest as it has been since the park's conception. Finally, if this plan is approved, let it be known that SCC and IMBA will not be cleaning the park of downed trees, widowmakers, or invasive species, as many have been led to believe. Evergreen Park's trails are in poor condition, but nothing can state the obvious as to the condition of the forest itself since the 2022 storm and prior to the lack of maintenance. Damaged trees and invasive species have taken over what once was the gem of the city. Alders and members of the city that attended informal walks provided by Friends of Evergreen clearly observed the condition of the park, and some were even shocked. SCC's past cleanup practices involve cutting branches or trees and pushing them out of the paths of their trails, along with blowing and clearing leaves. Prior to site work taking place, a comprehensive plan for restoration needs to be put in place, funded by the city, as it is a city park. Cleanup will require an outside forestry service, as this would overwhelm our current urban forestry department. The department director of Public Works should be in charge of this plan, as the current superintendent has shown throughout this process his inability to manage or resolve problems in regards to the city's parks and forestation. Thank you.
Thank you. Lady there.
Haley Veldboom, 802 New York Avenue in Oostburg. Hi, my name is Haley, and like most 18-year-olds, I don't find myself at these meetings very often, but this is something that I'm very passionate about, and I care about the park a lot. I've been using Evergreen Park since I was on a Barbie bike with training wheels, and I have used it for hiking, snowshoeing, and biking because I love the outdoors and staying active. I've been a part of Sheboygan Composite, which is a youth mountain bike team in Sheboygan County for athletes grades 6th through 12th, and it was first established in 2021, and since then we have been using Evergreen Park to practice twice a week. I believe that the park improvements would greatly benefit our team and other members of the community. I specifically think of our younger and newer athletes, and the conditions of our current trails are sometimes challenging, and I took a look at the proposed plan, and they have a perimeter trail, which I feel like would be very beneficial for people that are getting new into hiking or biking and allow them to enjoy it and find a love for being active and outside. A concern from the community addressed was the fact of the trails being multi-use. They currently are being multi-used. For example, many parents, when they drop off their kids for practice, they'll hike or run or bike on the same trails we're practicing on. And I agree that this is something that won't be changed. It'll just be improved and make it safer and easier for these trails to be used by all users. I trust SCC and the professionals that they're going to work with, that these trails will remain sustainable and accessible to all users. Like I've said, I've used these trails for many, many years, and the improvements they will create will allow me to continue using these trails along with every other community member. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead, ma'am.
Thanks, Haley. I was hesitant to speak because I'm not a resident of Sheboygan. I'm a resident of Kohler, the surrounding Sheboygan area. I was encouraged to speak tonight because I have a background in Parks and Recreation. I was on a park board for 18 years, served 5 of those years as the president of that park board. Have a lot of experience of resistance to parks and facilities being developed in the community. I firmly believe that we acquire land. There's lots of grants out there in order to acquire land so that the community, all of the community, can have access to it. I also come here because I was forever a biker until recently, and I just recently got back into biking. I have 4 children, raised them, I would say at least once a week during the spring, summer, fall time. We biked. We were out on the trails all over. And I recently got back into biking because of e-bikes. And it's nice to have a way to get into a natural area. If you don't have a shared use facilities, you don't have the ability to access the actual nature and natural area. And to that point, shared use, I just got back on Tuesday. I attended the meeting that SCC had at the library, and I had just got back that day from Peninsula State Park. And Peninsula State Park has several shared use. And on that day, we biked. And we biked pretty much the easy trails. There are the difficult trails, and there are easier trails. And we were hiking. We didn't bike, we were hiking. And we probably encountered 20 different bikes within, that time period with no incidents. They weren't, disrespectful to us. We weren't disrespectful to them. The trail was set up. I think the trails in Evergreen Park right now, they're called shared use. I don't believe they are shared use. I was in Evergreen Park helping out with Making Spirits Bright, and I was trying to hike a trail, and there's no signage, and I was got lost trying to figure out, and it was cold out there that night when I was volunteering out there. So as a former elected official, I really think it's a godsend to have a community group with such interests take and willing to continue this forward and save the tax dollars money, because there is an interest to improve Evergreen Park, and you have it right in your lap. So I encourage you to go ahead with the proposal. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Mike, it looks like I knew you were going to speak, so we're just waiting for you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Before I go, regardless of where you are on this topic, can we give a hand to the young girl from Oostburg? There is hope for our country when I see young people like that. Okay, Mike Scheringer, I live at 3020 Cherokee Drive. Tonight, just 6 calendar days since the revised plan was shared, you are being asked to approve the plan for Evergreen Park. Parks Manager Joe Curlin cites in his memo to this committee, it is very apparent that SCC has listened to public concerns and has made adjustments to the proposal. SCC has made some notable adjustments by removing the asphalt pump track in the advanced skills zone. What remains in the plan are 2 elements the community has clearly identified as significant points of concern. Areas C1 and C2 and the bike playground. I'll use my time to speak to the bike playground and its location adjacent to the Shaw Family Park. It has been clearly shown that the available infrastructure at this site, which includes 44 parking spots, 8 of which are reserved for handicap, cannot support this level of activity and will inevitably result in neighborhood conflict. The alternative site, recommended by community members and shared with elected members of this committee and previously with SCC, is also within Evergreen Park and has 4 designated parking areas adjacent to it with a total of 157 parking spots. As recently as this morning, an individual closely affiliated with this topic corresponded with me, and I quote, "You expressed frustration that this element has not been moved despite knowing the city had asked for them to be placed where they are," end quote. It seems to many like a win-win proposal to move this to the alternative site. If it is in fact city government that desires to see this feature where it is being proposed, please speak clearly to that so residents understand your position on this topic. Residents of this city ask that elected leaders act based upon facts and logic. Your decisions should be supported and informed by those public servants who find their employment within the departments that exist to serve these same residents. I would ask that you reject the false argument that a vote not recommending approval is a vote that the Common Council believes things are good the way they are. Many of you have walked the park and you have seen for yourself that things are not good the way they are. The issue that the community raised was not things are good the way they are. The issue was a concept plan for mountain biking related infrastructure was proposed that would dramatically alter the makeup and use of the park. The question before you tonight is simple. Have the revisions to the plan sufficiently addressed these concerns? You can vote to approve if you think substantive changes have been made and you have been presented with a plan that has the best interest of all park users in mind. Or you can vote to reject and ask that more work be done and the very best possible concept plan be brought to this committee. Neither decision would be 100% right or 100% wrong. So, in the end, I think you need to ask, what do your constituents want? Hopefully, 6 days has provided you enough time to know the answer to that question. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Go ahead.
Good evening. I'm Larkin Jorgensen, 1823 North 6th Street here in town. I have 2 children. One of them is 13 and has been biking with Sheboygan Composite for 2 years now. One of them is 9 and doesn't really bike. I adore the placement of the smaller area, the bike area near Shaw Playground, especially when they were younger. When one was 7 and one was 5, 5 being the target age for Shaw Park, 7 being old enough to enjoy the bike feature that's being proposed in that location, but not old enough to be out of sight of the parents. The parking, extensive in Evergreen Park, is a very reasonable walk to Shaw Playground with 2 children in tow, one of them who's going to bike, one of them who's going to be on the playground. That particular feature in that particular location is one that I find phenomenal and very useful for parents with multiple ages of children. More broadly, I'm solidly in support of the plan and hope that you vote yes on the proposal. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm not going to, I'm going to try to keep it to just singles. I'm sorry.
No worries.
Go ahead, sir. I thought you raised your hand. Okay. Were you going to? Oh, go ahead. I knew you were going to talk.
You can see it on my face.
Yeah.
Okay, I am Yana Soriano. I live at 2724 Kohler Memorial Drive in town. And I was writing as people were talking, so I'm going to try to cover these as best I can here. I am an environmental consultant. I'm not an engineer. Thank you. But I do play one at work sometimes, and I work with other registered professional engineers. I also have a substantial amount of time building Ice Age Trail, another great volunteer-led organization maintaining and building trails in the state of Wisconsin. So I guess I'd like to start out with a little bit of disappointment with environmental concerns, because we are open and would happy to have people come to us with concerns for discussion. So Jessica, I know that you attended one of our Q&A sessions. Maybe you also attended the one this past week. We would have been happy to field some of your questions remaining after that. But a number of them I feel like have already been addressed. So it's unfortunate that maybe you're still holding those thoughts. But I can promise you that there is a mountain bike trail sustainable, non-eroding, like eroding to the standards that we can build dirt trails to on both flat surfaces and surfaces with topography. Engineers can handle that level of variation. That's what they do for a living. You quoted a survey with 17%. Was that our survey by chance for IMBA? So I think we've mentioned this before, but that is a misunderstanding of our numbers. So people could answer that they both bike, they hike, they picnic. So just because you see more answered hike, those may be people who bike and hike. So it's not fair to say that there are only 17% that are biking and that the rest are hikers. That's a misrepresentation of what our survey allowed people to do, since they could answer both of those use types. I will reiterate that the locations drawn on the map are a concept, and the lines are so thick that you can't say exactly where that falls on the topography. We tried to make them thicker so people would understand where the trails could potentially be. It's hard to present all of that information on one map, which we really tried to do to give people an easy visual, because we understood that our plan was confusing before. So we spent a lot of time trying to clean that up. Personally, I love that you brought up restoration. That can absolutely be part of any plan for a mountain bike trail. It is common to be part of mountain bike trail and memorandums of understanding. I believe Josh, our guest speaker, shared some examples of that, where people have partnerships for removing invasive species, revegetating areas. That is totally good feedback that can be incorporated into the design portion, as well as the location of the playground, because SCC is committed to working with the city, and whatever the appropriate location is based on the engineering feedback and the city's desires is what's going to be put into the actual design plan that we propose later. And again, part of our thought process is to direct people to parking at Quarry and the lots within Evergreen rather than directing them to Shaw Playground. So materials that talk about the bike playground would be directing to those larger parking lots that you brought up, which would be great, rather than overloading the already small parking area at Shaw. There is a lot of concern with the skill areas. We understand this is not something that everyone has seen before. Before I mountain bike, I had never seen it. And so I personally am working on a one-pager that we can release to show more pictures. I understand people would really benefit from that, to see what they look like. I think a lot of people don't realize it could look like trail stabilization. It can be a single rock. It's not something that's necessarily obvious in a large constructed wooden feature. So I really hope that people take the opportunity to learn if we present more images to share, so that we can be on the same page with what we're proposing, because there is so much variation for mountain bikes on what the parks look like, that when you hear a flow zone or a skill area, so I just will say, I hope in the future that Save Evergreen Park does collaborate with us, because they haven't reached out to us much, and we'd love to clear up miscommunication. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, I think are we all? We have one more yet? Okay. Hopefully we can wrap this up quick.
Sure, sorry.
That's all right.
My name is Tom Kraus. I live at 713 Columbus Avenue. Little bit of history. I moved to Sheboygan in 2007 in the summer, and my daughter at that time was about 10 years old. On a weekend, we just got on our bikes and started riding around. She hadn't started school yet, but we knew where Pigeon River Elementary School was, so we went over that way. If anyone familiar with that area is, if you go down the hill by Pigeon Elementary, you'll come across a trail that goes along the Pigeon River. You go on that trail, you come up by the quarry. From the quarry, you can go over to Evergreen Park. So we just my mind was blown, and I can't imagine how my daughter felt. She must have been to the moon and back to be able to ride her bike without any traffic around on these nice little trails. And then when we got to Evergreen Park, we could ride around the paved area. We rode up and down the trails. She had a blast. And we made some friends. We did the same thing, kind of repeat. We didn't drive there. We rode our bikes there, so the parking wasn't an issue. Fast forward 4 years later, when my son was about 9, 10 years old, did the same thing. And he loved it. And my son Ben, maybe because of that, the love of biking, got into cross-country skiing, cross-country running, went to college, and is now a triathlete. So I am very much in favor of this. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh, okay, go ahead.
I just need 30 seconds.
Okay, that's fine.
I've been running pop-up bike playground, Steve Jorgensen, 2227 Erie Avenue, Sheboygan. I got this idea from some dads in lacrosse that threw up a couple features on asphalt, and kids started showing up, and more kids, and it just exploded. And they presented 5 years ago when I heard about it. So when I moved to Sheboygan 4 years ago, my grandkids are here, and I wanted to try that. And I heard about SCC, and they said, yeah, let's make this happen. And so I'm here to speak on behalf of probably over 250 kids from this age to this age that have enjoyed our pop-up playground behind Shaw Park the last 3 years we've done it. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Anyone else? Okay, I think I'm going to close it down then. Anyone have any comments from our committee here? Oh, all the rest.
Thank you, Chair. First, I would like to once again thank the young girl for coming and speaking. I know this is not a very great opportunity. It's very decisive. I would like to make a motion to move the bike playground off of this plan and move it to a different park in the city. And I would also like to make a motion that this plan includes restoration goals that was asked earlier for the trails. So I'm making two motions.
Don't we have to first, I'm just going to ask Liz here 1 second. I think, don't we have to first make a motion to approve and then make a amended? Is that? Yeah. Okay. Here, you're on fire. That's right. I'm sorry.
All right, thank
Thanks,
you.
Liz.
You're correct. We would ask that you first move to approve, get a second on that, then you can file your motions to amend or to take any other action on the proposal.
Okay.
And then you would move to adopt the amendment and then approve as amended.
All right, thank you. Otherwise, then I would just like to state that I think that I like the idea of a bike playground, and I think that we can utilize another park that's underutilized in the city for something like that. And I do think that we do have to make sure we are protecting the park, and we do have to include restoration goals with this as we move forward with it, just to quell any fears about that in the future.
Okay. I am not necessarily in favor of moving the children's bike thing. I think that it's been working out well where when you've had the pop-up there. I actually talked to someone from Shaw Playground, actually. I said, hey, what do you guys think of this? Is this going to be, and they said, we think it's great. That's what I heard from them. They think it's great for the exact reason that she spoke about, because they can have kids playing at the Shaw Playground and they can have kids playing at the bike playground. Doing both at the same time is actually beneficial. So that's where I come at. So I would not really be in support of that particular part of it. As far as restoration is concerned, I do believe restoration is important, and I think that can be part of the conversation. I don't know necessarily how we can put that into this proposal. That's a question, but I'm going to let somebody else talk now. Well, Susie, I'll put you up to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to say, I think even before I was elected, I was having conversations. I took a tour of the park and have been through the park since then as well. I commend everybody for keeping the dialogue going. I commend everybody for attempting to make compromises that are palatable for everyone in the community. I was having a discussion before we started the meeting, and I said no one's going to be completely happy. I don't think, regardless of the outcome. Some people will be somewhat dissatisfied, some people will be somewhat satisfied. I think that's oftentimes how things of this nature tend to work out. I do think that the two items that were mentioned, I don't believe that moving the playground would be an appropriate motion, I guess. At this point in time, I think that this is still conceptual. There's obviously still the actual design that has to go into place. I do think that the current proposed location for the bike playground is conducive to use of Shaw Family Playground, as well as progressive use of the trails eventually for kids who are taking advantage of that playground area. I also share concerns around conservation. I think that's a great point that Alder Rust had brought up, and I think we can look to address that as we move forward with the formal design plan as caveats that are added in potentially. But ultimately, I think that the work that's been done in the community to come up with concessions, the SEC's plan, and the adjustments that have been made are very commendable. And while it's a tough decision, I think, for all of us, because we've gotten a lot of feedback from both sides, I just appreciate everybody's input up to this point in time.
And I would like to echo that also. I would like to commend everyone for this. You guys have all worked very hard. I appreciate the tour given by the group. I appreciate all the work that SCC has done. I think that you guys have done a tremendous job in working with the community, trying to find a good compromise. And usually a good compromise, everybody feels a little bit not quite 100% happy. Usually not everybody walks away. I'm sure you guys gave up some things in that you guys definitely wanted, but you didn't. You gave them up because you knew you couldn't have them. I got the city attorney on here. She's got something to add.
Thank you. Elder Bors covered one of the topics that I was going to address, which is that the matter before the body today is the conceptual design plan. So recommending to approve this document simply authorizes more specific designs to be developed, and those would all be presented back to this board for approval. If the members today desire to make any amendments to this conceptual design plan, because of the general nature of the design plan at this stage, any of those amendments, the language is going to have to be very specific. So if there's a page on the document that you want to see amended or, whatever, please be as specific as possible, and please speak clearly so that the clerk for today's meeting can adequately take notes on those changes to prepare for the next council meeting.
Thank you, Attorney Majerus. All right, anyone else from the committee would like to speak at all? Alder Bellinger.
Thank you, Chairman. First of all, I want to commend both sides. The passion is amazing on both sides, and it's nice that we have this much interest in our parks. Michael, thank you for the tour. I enjoyed that. It was eye-opening to say the least. And again, I commend SCC for their willingness to modify their original plan. So thank you for being flexible in that. And should this pass, I hope you will continue to be flexible in listening to the concerns of the neighbors and the concerned citizens as well. I'm going to take a little different take on this based on my tour of Evergreen Park. I had been to Evergreen Park, many times, but it hadn't been for a number of years. Most recently, it was at night during Making Spirits Bright, where you obviously don't get to see everything during the daylight. I enjoy being a member of this committee. Please, Joe Curlin and Travis, don't take this personally. This is not meant to be any kind of personal attack to either one of you. Travis, especially for you, because you are relatively new and have kind of inherited this situation. But the park has been, it's just been a gross state of disrepair. We're coming up on 3 years now since that windstorm. And it was mentioned earlier today, widowmakers in the park, where trees have fallen onto other trees, only waiting to fall again in the next big windstorm, and they are over the paths that we were walking on. There's just the amount of trees that are down in the underbrush that hasn't been cleaned up. If we were to have a drought situation or lightning or something like that, that would just become tinder and the whole place would go up. So it's been very, very poorly managed, and that is on the city, and I don't take a lot of pleasure in saying that. But it's a priority thing, and I don't know why it hasn't become a priority. I live on 3rd Street. 3rd Street was decimated during that storm with the tree damage, and the city was fantastic in dealing with removing boulevard trees all throughout that storm. I don't know why they stopped and didn't take care of the parks that they are responsible for. We're looking at DeLand Park, the Marina, Fountain Park upgrades, doing all this thing. We've got a parklet that we're spending money on, but we're not taking care of one of our treasures in Evergreen Park, and I don't know why. So I would like, as a member of this committee, to kind of spearhead an effort to get that thing cleaned up and into a state that it is presentable and something that all the citizens can be proud of, because right now it's not. I mentioned previously at one of the other meetings that my daughter runs outdoor recreation program for Wake Forest University. One of the things that she does, she teaches mountain biking. And to have a group like this that is willing to maintain the trails, do some upgrades, they have a conservancy bend to their organization, so they're not going to be neglecting of the conservation aspect of this. It's rare for a community to have that, and we should embrace it and take them and use them as they're willing to be used to help maintain these trails. I also have a problem with, I would get some emails against this, as well as I got a bunch for too, but the ones against it, I have a problem with people saying what can and cannot be done in a park and who can and cannot go in a park. Parks are for everybody and should be used and respected, and they should obviously be conserved and maintained. But if we just eliminated anything new, we wouldn't have any pickleball courts. We wouldn't have all sorts of things within in the parks that we now have. So times change, people evolve, technology changes, and I think we can embrace this, and I think we can coexist as two groups as long as the SCC is willing to listen and modify some things, and the conservation side of it, they've been extremely respectful and professional in doing what they're doing. I received an email from Dr. Reese regarding the history of the fat cats today or yesterday. And since 2002, I believe, they've donated over $20,000 to help different programs within Evergreen Park. So cycling clubs can be beneficial to the communities, and therefore I'm going to support this. And again, I just want to say I admire the passion on both sides, and it is emotional, and you should be commended the way you're handling both sides. Everybody's been very, very professional in my conversations and emails with them, so thank you for that.
Thank you, John. Alder Menzer.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Hi, everybody. Alder Menzer, District 1, so this is in District 1. I'm not going to belabor the accolades that everybody gave, but I think it's still worth repeating that I do applaud both groups for everything that they've done, especially for even us as aldermen and women and persons to educate us as to what the constituents think. Especially SEC for how they've taken steps to work towards a compromise, and also the Friends group. And I think this is a model for how citizens and community organizations can come together on their own volition, have meaningful discussions, and reach compromise without the city having to hold everybody's hand and without having to be in control over the process or interfere with it. I think this maybe serves as a model for how we can do that more and more. Been very conflicted in my mind ever since, as Alder Boris mentioned, even before I I took this seat, this role, I was receiving many correspondence regarding this. And even since then, over the past couple months, found it difficult to gauge the consensus, not only of my district, but, you know, the city as a whole. Overall, I think this could be a good thing for the community. My kids would love the bicycle playground. I don't think moving it is a wise decision. I think I like the location, though I do have a concern. I'll mention that later. I would appreciate some well-marked, maintained trails, especially that accessible perimeter trail. Right now, I don't run in Evergreen, not like I used to. I mean, I've been running for about 5 years since we came back, and I like to run that path. Somebody mentioned that path from Pigeon River on through to the quarry, through Maywood, through Evergreen. I love running the trails, and it's interesting to note that actually on that Pigeon River path, there is a very blind corner that I'm very cognizant of, and whenever I run, I understand there could be a biker coming, and I wouldn't see him or her. And I feel like I would also, as a runner, hiker, just a user of the trail, I would also have an obligation to do what I could to avoid a collision, right? In fact, I would be able to move laterally, sideways, a lot quicker than a bicycle could. So I understand that that's a risk inherent with just about any outdoor activity where, like you said, Alder Bellinger, that everybody can use things. So that's something that I've taken into account. But you know, it's funny, I rarely have encountered bicyclists on any of those trails. And I can show you if you want. I use Strava. I track where I run. It's kind of fun. In fact, I used to be the, anyway, I digress. I used to be the king. If you run a trail so many times more than anybody else, you get to be like the king or whatever. You get this, you know, special icon, you know. For about a couple weeks, I was the king of Evergreen Park, the loop. So I was pretty proud of that. But that was, you know, a little while ago. Anyway, I do, and I thank SEC for addressing some of the bigger concerns. You know, the pump track, the advanced skill zone. A couple concerns, bicycle areas, C1, C2. I don't know if they would harshly alter or dramatically infringe on the woodland ecosystem in that area. But again, it's hard to say. But again, this is just a concept. You know, it's hard to say where are these going to go exactly, right? Until we actually have marked little flags or wherever. It's like, okay. And if this doesn't go through, if this is not approved, the bikers will still use the park as they are, you know, permitted to. And I feel like that will cause maybe more destruction than having some designated, clearly defined, and well-constructed trails. So it's possible we'll have some bigger, yes, trails, but there'll be less of them. And that might allow the natural flora and fauna to regenerate in those other areas where there's so much erosion, right? Around a lot of those trees. Because I don't want to see some of those trees come down. Any of those trees, really. And I think SEC would agree with that. There was some concern about the oversight. Maybe that, you know, there might be a committee to oversee this, you know, the details of it. I'm not sure if that's necessary as long as we work with the professionals that are involved in the process, maybe bring in a few experts for some more, you know, areas that might have a more controversial area. We'll see. I don't know. It's hard to say because, again, this is just a concept, right? This isn't exactly where things are going to go. Yes, maybe the bicycle playground will get moved. I don't know. I hope it doesn't. But now back to that, if I will share something. I like the location, and I like that it's near Shaw, and I like that some of us have talked to the Shaw family and said, hey, this is going to be okay. It's going to be great. I am concerned, and I'll disagree with SEC and Mr. Curlin on the idea that parking lot is going to be sufficient. I don't think it will be. But that's just my from my personal experience, which I take my kids to Shaw a fair bit. And on any given day, even the less than ideal weather condition days, it's still like 3/4 full. And I can see that becoming maybe more of an issue. And I, know that those people that live right there won't like consistent street parking all the time. It'll get clogged at times with maybe an event day, but it's just something to maybe think about, and I'm going to keep an interested eye on that whole process. And so many details are not yet worked out that I'm sure we could find a solution. I hope we can. But overall, I'm in favor of the proposed concept, happy to support a proposal that will build a quality outdoor activity that provides a constructive outlet for the next generation. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Alderman. And I just want to echo that one point that you said. I think doing nothing, I think would be the biggest disservice. I think that if we did nothing and we just left it, people are still going to bike through there. They're still going to hike through there. They're still going to, and I think the damage that would continue to happen would be more devastating than not doing anything at all. That is my opinion on it. I mean, I just think that the bikes are still going to go through. If we said no today and we walked away from this all, the bikes are still going to go through there. People are still going to hike through there, and you're going to have all these spider webs of all these different trails to get a consistently well-maintained trail with a good surface that will protect it. I think it's the answer. I really do. I do believe that. So I'm going to leave it to that. Anyone else have any comments? Otherwise, I would be looking for a motion.
Make a motion to approve.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Chair votes aye. That is approved. Thank you very much. Okay. Our next regular meeting date will be July 14th, 2025. Seeing as we have exhausted the agenda, looking for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned. Thank you very much, everyone.
Did I? Thank you. I appreciate it. Real tough. I'm sweating. Thank you. It was hard.
Okay. You're concerned about the shop.
Yes.
Bike races in the park.